What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Empire, where we dominate the crypto market. And my name is Connor. I'll be your host for today's live stream. So right now we're in the aftermath of the big Liberation Day that took place on April 2nd yesterday, and the stock market essentially had its worst day in 4 years after Liberation Day with the Trump tariff announcement. And like some great Crypto Empire community members have pointed out, right, these were not the first initial tariffs. These were on top of the already existing tariffs, and many people are kind of underestimating that. So anyways, we'll dig into that today. And of course, we're talking about the crypto market. We're talking about Bitcoin and altcoins and what is headed next. Now, if you guys have been following along the channel, my stance hasn't changed. I'm actually still a bear right now. I do still think we go lower before higher. I'm sure you could tell that from today's live stream title. So regardless, let's get this started like we always do with our crypto market overview. Shout out to everyone here watching in the live chat. Big shout out to Ladradoodle saying to smash the like button. Thank you for your support, everyone watching, and especially you Ladradoodle for saying that in the chat. Guys, smash up that like button as you do tune into the stream today, and let's get into this. So looking at things as they are, Bitcoin is currently trading for $82,750. Ethereum is at $1,800. Everything is essentially down, right? Looking at the crypto bubble's top 100. Yes, there are some green coins here like Cosmos Atom, but Atom got smashed pretty hard, and it's simply just bouncing. Never mind. Let's go back to the daily. So yeah, this thing made a lower low. It actually is pumping. I didn't even check this chart today, so I take my words back. Atom is putting in a very, very nice mean reversion pump right now. As you can see, it is currently up 10% on the day. So anyways, some coins bouncing today for the most part. Everything is down, and I'm still looking for Bitcoin to go ahead and make new lows. So let's go look at that and talk about what we are expecting here. So this is the daily time frame chart for Bitcoin at the current moment in time. And again, the trend is your friend until the end, and we're in a confirmed downtrend. And yesterday, price did try and break the downtrend once again, just like it did over here at the end of March. However, it went ahead and it tested those highs that were created at the end of March before rejecting immediately on that 4 p.m. Trump speech about the tariffs. Okay, so still a downtrend right now for Bitcoin. And right, there's a lot of ideas out there, right? Everyone has their own opinion on the current Bitcoin situation, and many people are saying that, you know, we're just in a range right now, and that is correct to an extent, right? We are in a range here, but I think a lot of people are discounting the fact that are trying to call bottom right now. They're discounting the fact that yes, we're in a sideways kind of range, but in the bigger picture, we're also in a confirmed downtrend, you know, going back 3 months now. So macro higher time frame analysis is always going to trump what's happening, I'd say, in the shorter term. And, you know, 80K is holding for now, right? Yesterday, we went and tested 80K support once again. I don't expect this to hold, all right? I do expect this downtrend to ultimately continue until the key liquidity is actually taken on Bitcoin. And again, that's down here at $72,000. I'm literally a broken record at this point saying this because it's taking a very long time to play out, right? It's like a tiptoe, slowly, like the tortoise versus the hare. It's the market's moving like a tortoise currently, all right? And for the past month or so, I've been saying 72K. And we still haven't gotten there yet. So I'm still expecting that. And I don't expect a breakout in 100K or anything like that until 72,000 is actually hit. All right. But with that being said, it is important to consider the scenario where we do pump back up even to our, you know, previous swing high levels at $95,000. This was from the Trump announcement about the altcoin strategic reserve at the beginning of March. It would still be bearish. Okay, if we closed above on the higher time frame above 95K, then I'd say, okay, you know, we're clear to go higher. But, you know, even if we bounce this high, there's no fuel to actually push price through resistance. And in order for price to actually get that fuel, It just needs to hit 72. So I don't want to sound like too much of a broken record because I'm saying the same things every day at this point in my videos and streams. But you guys have to understand the market is extremely boring at the moment. There's really no new developments. And until price hits this key level, I'm not flipping risk on in any sense, or price reclaims an important previous swing high level, which in this case, it's still 95K. All right, these levels over here, like 88, it would be semi-bullish to get reclaimed, but 95K is the main level to really be looking out for on Bitcoin. Now let's drop down the time frames and get into kind of some local price action. So as you can see here on the 4 hour, I went ahead and highlighted this. And just for simplicity's sake, we'll call this supply. We can also call this an order block. It's really the same exact thing. So essentially here, we have this zone. And as you can see on the Trump tariff announcement yesterday, price just completely disregarded this order block, okay? So now we're essentially looking for price to come back into it. And this is from $84,200 up to around $85,100. We're looking for price to come back into this. And personally, I'm expecting a bearish reaction. I think we're very close to seeing the capitulation move down into the low 70s. I think we're really, really close to it at the current moment in time. So anyways, we have 84 to around the mid 85Ks as supply at the moment. So if you're looking for shorts, I would be looking for Bitcoin in here, right at around 85K. Look for rejection on the lower time frames if you want to wait for a confirmation entry. And I think we're really close to seeing the move into the low 70Ks. However, the market, like I said, it's like watching paint dry. It's like watching a tortoise go through a race. It is really, really slow. So however long it takes, that's completely fine. You can't force your hand. You just have to let the market do what it needs to do. So anyways, yeah, lower time frames, look for a move into supply here for Bitcoin and ultimately a rejection from there. I personally think it's a fool's game to be bullish at the current moment in time and be pushing for, or like shouting that we're going to pump here and like new all-time highs and all that stuff. It's just a fool's game right now. Again, there's a time to be bullish and there's a time to be bearish. And I am still in the bearish camp. Now let's see what's going on here in our live chat. Guys, smash up the like button. Like 50 people watching and not a lot of likes. So smash that like button. Thank you for all of your support. Big shout out to Dre. What is going on, Dre? Good to see you here in the chat. And we have a question from Stanley Cook. He says, yo, bro, you still like XDC? So XDC, one of those banker ISO 20022 like compliant coins. It's in a similar category to something like Hedera HBAR, XLM, Stellar, XRP, Ripple. So yeah, it's like enterprise blockchain project as well. It's fundamentally speaking, they're doing the right thing. Now, when it comes to this coin, I haven't looked into any of their developments in well over a year, so I can't speak on current events and what's going on in the short term with this thing. But I just remember how they're an ISO 20022 compliant coin, which those ones did really well, as you can see, right? Those had the bull market, while many altcoins did not. From October, this thing was at 2.6 cents, and it did manage to get all the way up to around 15.5 cents. So, you know, that performance speaks volumes in this altcoin market. And that's because I think it's an American coin, and it's that ISO 20022. It's compliant with world governments and regulatory bodies. So yeah, it saw this pump over here when Trump got elected. It's not a bad choice, I would say, right? Again, it's in that same kind of category as XRP or HBAR, very similar to those. So not the worst by any means. And it kind of has a future, again, because it's so compliant. But I'm not a holder of it or anything. Just speaking out loud, thinking out loud. And we also have another question from Season 3 OG. He says, what do you think about Walrus? So Walrus on Sui. New coin listed on Bybit Spot. Based off of this price action, right, it could potentially break resistance at 60 cents, but if you want to try to buy here, you're buying at the premium of the range. So I think, what do I think about Walrus? Potential topping pattern here. What do I think about Walrus? I think if I wanted to buy it, I would wait for a discount, and that would be down here closer to 40 cents or the high 30s. If you want to buy something right now, any altcoin you want to buy, doesn't matter if it's a meme, it doesn't matter if it's a banker coin like XDC, doesn't matter if it's an AI coin. What I would be doing if I wanted to buy anything, whatever coins you're bullish on that you want to be loading up on, for a potential risk on period in crypto again, I would be mapping things out, right? If we do expect Bitcoin to head into the low 70s, potentially the high 60s, I'm expecting USDT dominance to do one more spike up, whether that wants to come up and test our zone here up to around 6%, or if it wants to test the higher zone, which is above 6%, like 6.06% to 6.18%, that likely does mean that, altcoins are going to have one more spike down. So again, whatever coin you want to buy, you can DCA, right? But ultimately, I'm expecting lower before higher. The thing is, it could be a very quick low move, right? It could be like the COVID dump where you had, a few hours on that worst day ever to buy at the bottom. So if you're not that type of person to be ready at your computer or ready to pull the trigger, then the dollar cost average strategy may be better for you. But ultimately, when it comes to any altcoin, you probably will be getting better prices if and when Bitcoin goes to 72,000 first. That's just my take. Obviously, you need to make your own decision. You're the one that's going to be trading the capital. It's your capital. So you have to do what you think is best, but that's just what I think. I think you'll be able to get better deals. And I say this, right? Something like Walrus. Like if you want to buy at resistance in this current market, it doesn't make a lot of sense. You're likely way better off waiting for support levels to come into play. Now, when it comes to Trump's tariffs and everything that's going on, Trump had an interesting analogy comparing the market to a sick person. And this is what he had to say today. So Trump on the market, he said, "It's what is expected. The patient was very sick." In this case, the patient is the market or the economy. The economy had a lot of problems. It was a sick patient. It went through an operation. The operation is over. And now we let it settle in. So essentially he's saying that, he's trying to fix the economy with his tariffs, and the market or the economy just went through an operation, right? A period of turbulence, bit of uncertainty, and now all that needs to settle in, but hopefully that operation will go ahead and fix things. Now, this operation was a pretty catastrophic one, depending on which side of the trade you were on, because we can see here, according to Watcher Guru, today $2.85 trillion was wiped out from the U.S. stock market. $2.85 trillion. All right, we had a few $1 trillion wipeout days over the past few months, but this is actually the worst day in stock market history in 4 years, going back to 2021. Okay, so this operation that Trump speaks of for the economy, it was pretty diabolical for the market, especially stocks today. But, we'll see if that's going to go ahead and fix things. And also, Watcher Guru literally just tweets whatever. They said today that President Trump says the market is going to boom. Just propaganda statements. But anyways, that all went down today, right? I showed this in the video I posted this morning in regards to $2 trillion erased as the tariffs hit. And this was an article from last night, actually. So, $2.85 trillion wiped out in one trading day due to these tariffs. And again, I think it's a fool's game right now to be bullish from here and expecting Bitcoin to just go right up to 100K and then like a breakout to new all-time highs, and we're going to be in some kind of crazy roaring bull market. The trend is bearish. Of course, sentiment is bearish. But yeah, we're going lower before higher in my very own opinion. Anyways, what else is going on here in the chat? Shout out to Rosie saying to hit the like button. Thank you, Rosie. Guys, hit the like button. We also got Dark Knight. He says, Monad tip. For those using testnet, having 0.01 ETH in the wallet will get you 2 mon instead of 0.05 from the faucet. Very good tip there, Dark Knight. I actually didn't even know that myself. So if you have a little bit of ETH in your wallet, let me go ahead and show you guys what he's talking about. Let me log into Phantom Wallet as well, live on stream. 1 second. Okay, cool. So what he's saying is if you actually have a little bit of Ethereum in your wallet and you go to request, because it'll be the same wallet address that you're going to put in here, you'll actually get 2 Monad tokens instead of 0.05. So that's an awesome tip. Thank you, Dark Knight. Anyone farming the Monad airdrop, whether you watched this video that I posted 3 days ago or you're just doing it on your own or you watch someone else's video, whatever, apply that tip. It should make your airdrop farming endeavor much easier on yourself. Looks like Dre didn't know that as well. Yeah, I had no idea about that. Big shout out to Kazuya. Thank you, sir. Smashing the like button, as well as Declan Wyatt. And we got Zach Berkowicz. He says, I'll be stacking Chainlink sub $10 if we get there. Awesome, Zach. Let's go ahead and break down Chainlink. Great coin. I always keep tabs on it. And let's get into this analysis. So Link reacting really well off this level that we had at around $11 to $12. As you can see, a really good reaction there on the weekly time frame. We have the bounce into a lower high, and then we have essentially come back and retested the bottom. So the thing about Chainlink is we have a lot of history to go back on. And Chainlink is one of those tokens where it likely does go and test that all-time high it made last cycle. It likely does go back to $50 per token. Okay, so, Zach's point here saying he wants to buy at sub 10. The second I heard that, I thought, yeah, that's smart. That's a good move. Anyways, like $10 is that make or break level. Okay, you have a daily closure beneath $10. That's your lowest daily closure since late 2023. Ultimately, what I would be looking out here for is if Bitcoin does go into the low 70s, Link has a good chance to come back to around $8 to $9. It does appear to me, at least. I mean, this is tested once, but there's also a lower level just here, right? And this is like $7 to $8 on Chainlink. So I do think that there's a decent chance you see Link that low. And I agree with you. I think that would be a great buying opportunity. Again, just piggybacking off what I was saying just earlier when it comes to all altcoins, right? You want to plan out what the levels you want to be a buyer are at. So yeah, just looking at Link on the higher time frames, again, $10 is like the make or break level. This is where it was listed on Bybit in 2020 at $10. And it's also a very obvious level of support on the chart here. Ultimately, right, there is a very obvious demand zone from around $8 to $7 here on Link. That's been tested once. That happened on the August crash. Looking at the total 2 again, which is the altcoin market cap. If we do see this break through the low that happened over here on March 11th and come down to 860 billion, then yes, I'd say Chainlink does go to that lower demand zone from $7 to $8. If we see this just kind of hold the lows at around 900 to 925 billion, then that $10 horizontal level could end up holding on Link. It really depends what altcoins want to do if and when Bitcoin does hit that 72K level. And I've discussed the scenario at length many times here where altcoins may not drop as hard as Bitcoin because they all already hit their important levels. The only one that didn't is actually Bitcoin itself. Let's see, Matt says, why the video? Well, they reached out, made sense, mathematically speaking. So I was thinking like a quant, right? How would a quant think, right? They're going to weigh the options and they're going to essentially create an equation around it. And it makes way more sense to do the video than to not do it. So that's why I did it. Let's see, we got Rosie saying, why not ape Pepe when Bitcoin hits $72,000? Well, I'm not sure you're asking me why not. You might be asking yourself why not. I think Pepe would be a good coin to trade if and when Bitcoin did hit 72,000. I mean, this is the weekly time frame. What a fair value gap that was created. I'm not sure what this is. Must be from a different time frame. But wow, this pump really resulted in just one of the biggest fair value gaps that I've seen to date. We got to isolate this. Interesting. Okay, so untested demand just below support on the 2 days does stick out pretty hard. Let's do this analysis live. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing and pick up on it, but if not, I understand because I am doing quite a bit of things. Nothing too crazy. All right, interesting. So I just pulled this reverse fib from this low to this high. And the negative 0.27 is directly on a line I drew. Now this is a crazy large drop from the current market price, CMP. I doubt that happens. I really, really doubt. I think later on in the bear market, you see Pepe go, another 60% or so from here. Some may say we are already in a bear market. And I'd say you're not necessarily wrong, especially when it comes to altcoins. Bitcoin is, again, that outlier that kind of isn't per se in this bear market because it hasn't necessarily made, on the higher time frames, broken market structure. But altcoins for sure, yes. So yeah, it would make more sense to see this level hit for something like Pepe. Just sweep the lows. And this is around another 30% lower. At 5 zeros and then 5-0. Just go to the 2-day time frame and you'll be able to isolate that and see what I'm talking about. And then later on, I do think that this lower level does get hit. But if I had to draw a scenario, it would probably be something like this. Which means there would be a lot of gains to be had. Right, this would be like a 200% pump. At that time, I would expect all of crypto Twitter and all YouTube and everyone to just be crazy bullish again, saying that the bull market's back on and we're going to new all-time highs. And ultimately, they wouldn't understand that it would just be back testing resistance. That's why I drew this scenario on this trend line, right? Backtest resistance, get everyone super excited, only to have them just wrecked again, right? It's important on a really broad kind of thought here. Like, I have the Crypto Empire Mastermind. Every other YouTuber has their Patreon or private group. Every guy on Twitter has their own thing. And every person, right, the information market in crypto is really insane, right? It's a very, like, again, a broad thought. But, you know, you had these people investing a few $1,000 into the market, or maybe they're investing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands in some case, but every person fully expected to like retire after the bull market cycle. Like, it was so common to read that and hear that and all those things. And I think that's an amazing goal. And nobody should tell you not to go for that. But you guys have to understand this financial market, like, there's hedge funds and there's like the richest people in the world with the most resources and the most information trading these same exact assets as you. So when you have millions of people who are retail, they've literally never invested before in their life. They've never traded before in their life, thinking they can just come into crypto and be able to retire after the bull market. The whales know this and they play with people. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, I'm expecting another like bull trap, another whale trap, where they pump it back up, get everyone excited again. People FOMO, people buy premiums, and then just wreck them. That's what I think is probably going to happen here going forward. And if that changes, of course, I'll say I have a different stance, but that's what I think right now. Shout out to Fred James saying, what do, Connor? What's going on, Fred? We also got Guts Motors. What's going on, Guts? Saying, yo, Connor, good to see you. We also got Harry Malay. What's going on, Harry, my man? He says, greetings, Connor and Crypto Empire fam. Good to have you here, Harry. Matthew Black as well, saying, let's go live stream. Been a while, Matthew. Great to have you back in the chat. We also got Perry.80. He says, thoughts on all Bitcoin pairs going lower. ETH Bitcoin hasn't hit the lows of last bull run. Not sure if you follow Benjamin Cohen, but I heard you talking about alts having grabbed their liquidity. So I don't watch Ben Cohen, but of course I know who he is. I've watched him in previous years. But let's see the question. Thoughts on all Bitcoin pairs going lower? I mean, this kind of looks like it wants 0.02 at this rate, at least ETH BTC. Hasn't hit the lows of the last bull run, and that's right here. Okay, the lows of the last bull run that you're speaking of are these lows just here. So ultimately, yeah. It's tough to say, right? But if I was to speculate, I do actually lean towards this scenario where altcoins don't get smashed as hard when Bitcoin goes to 72 because, again, like you said, they grabbed their key liquidity already. But it's really tough to, I don't have a crystal ball to make an exact judgment or prediction. But I do lean towards that scenario where altcoins may actually show strength or not get totally slaughtered when Bitcoin goes down to 72,000. And you say also, any general thoughts about making trades based on Bitcoin pairs and evaluating portfolio in Bitcoin terms? Hurts to say it, but it's been brutal trying to outperform Bitcoin during quantitative tightening. So yes, I think that it's a good idea to nominate or denominate your portfolio in something like Bitcoin. ETH obviously would have been a mistake. I have spoken, those guys who've been following me for years, going back to like early 2023, I was talking a lot about denominating your kind of portfolio in Bitcoin or in Ethereum. So it's definitely right, a good idea, because Bitcoin is the king of this crypto market. And there's also a world where stablecoin cease to exist, possibly. So yeah, it's always good to think in Bitcoin value and not necessarily US dollar value. Now, trading based off BTC pairs, that's totally up to you and your strategy. If you're going to do that for every single trade and stick to your trading plan, then do it. But if you're going to hop between Bitcoin pairs, then USDT pairs, and you're not going to journal any trades, and you're not going to really dig in and do that extra necessary preparation work to actually become a good trader, then it's not going to make any difference at all. But it's totally a personal thing. And let's see, Kazuya says, I will be bullish when people say the average buy price of Bitcoin from MicroStrategy is at crucial levels with uncertainty of what will happen in the crypto market. The current average price is 66,000. So I thought about that in detail, Kazuya, and that's going to happen in this bear market, or the next bear market. And it probably will be something similar to the FTX implosion, where that marks the bottom, right? Anytime there's a major player is forced to liquidate, more oftentimes than not, that marks the bottom of things, okay? Because they're forced to sell their position at such a discounted rate. So yeah, those typical like huge liquidations of a major player, in this case Sailor, right, that probably will mark a bottom. Fear will be rampant, and that would be all textbook bottom stuff. And if you studied, for example, the FTX bottom, it looked very similar to that. And the thing with Sailor, right, like, people don't understand. Yes, he continues to buy Bitcoin and a lot of it, but like, he's a smart guy. He's obviously doing his other trading in the background, or he's hiring people to do it for him. Like, all of his public buys, it's exactly that. It's like a publicity stunt. So I think him being liquidated would be another publicity stunt to manipulate people, and that probably will mark a bottom in this upcoming bear market. I absolutely agree with that. And let's see, Incognito says the weekly Sol BTC chart is following the ETH BTC chart. All altcoins at the moment are following similar patterns. And I called top on this. I'll collect some clout right now. Don't mind if I do. Just collect some clout. Here we go. I did Sol ETH. Damn, I should have done Sol Bitcoin. But still, let's see. Oof, never mind. No clout can be collected. I haven't checked the chart since I posted this. But yeah, if I would have posted Sol versus Bitcoin, I would have been able to collect some clout via this tweet from a few months ago. But unfortunately, I posted the Sol Ethereum chart, and it hasn't changed. All right, these things are kind of just going sideways. I still think I'm going to be right. I'm just early. There's a difference, right? Often right, always early is a good way to describe it. And yeah, the writing's on the wall for this to sink like a ship, but I'm just early right now, in my opinion. Just early, not wrong. Anyways, let's take a look at BitTensor. So Tau has closed underneath the previous swing low from March 11th. Tau has closed underneath the previous swing low level. What does this mean? It means that we have yet another bearish break of market structure at $220. And let's actually go to our MEXC chart. And likewise on this chart, Tau closed beneath 212 in this case. All right, so we have a bearish break of structure here. And ultimately, I wouldn't be too surprised to see it make a retrace and continue to kind of nuke down. $20 hours interesting. So if we're going to prepare for that type of scenario, we want to look for levels to, short if we want to short the market, where we think price is going to come and reverse and ultimately head lower. So I have essentially identified a supply zone here, and we have direct confluence with the 50% fib, and that's at 239. 239.50, $240 for Tau. Look out for that. Be a sweep of these highs right into supply, and ultimately I do see this likely coming back down into the mid 100s, the mid to high 100s for Tau. I like 176. I also like 160. And if stuff gets really ugly, then the 618 at 147 for Tau here. But yeah, confirmed break of structure here on the daily time frame with yesterday's close. Not to be ignored by any means. Definitely not to be ignored here on Tau. CAS yet to hit my levels that I've priced, essentially front ran my levels here on CAS. But last week at 8.3 cents, I was waiting for around 8.9. This supply zone to short. And then also if price were to come up to the yearly open, I think that's an easy short on CAS. And ultimately, what are we expecting here? We're still expecting, similar to Bitcoin, right? We went over this on Sunday's live stream, but we're expecting this to come down and grab the fuel to actually make a move higher. And this current low that formed at 5.5 cents formed in no man's land, right? It's like a house built on a sand foundation instead of a rock. And if you know that story from the Bible, you know what happens to the house that is built on sand. It doesn't last too long. So I don't expect this low to hold on CAS, but just like I don't expect the lows to hold on Bitcoin down here at $76,000. Life experiences ARB coin update level. We can look at ARB in a moment. Shout out to Crypto Mike saying that he made it live and he smashed the like button already. Awesome. Appreciate that, Crypto Mike. We also got Hugo C saying that base alts, the main ones, are in good support. Should get a bounce. Good point. We haven't even looked at Deck Screener today. Let's do that now. And we got Matthew Black asking about the crypto influencer fight. He says, hey, what's up? What's the update? Have those jabronis decided to step up and let you in on a fight? I was there in Denver. I met them. I haven't heard from them since. So a short answer is no, I haven't heard from them. But hey, we'll see what happens. I'll go to a regional promotion if need be. We'll see. But I'll keep you updated. Let's see. Moral Oral says Cowabunga. AI narrative has been quiet. AI narrative peaked March of 2024, and it's been a ghost town since. Great engineering by the whales with that one. You got to give them credit. But let's look at Arbitrum and then these base coins. Wow, Arbitrum. Weekly time frame. New lows, 30 cents. These are all-time low levels. Okay, this is like... You look at a chart like this. And, yeah, these are all-time low prices. All-time low prices. One of the biggest VC coins of the cycle. Down 87%. So, like, this is bear market stuff. This is what a bear market chart looks like. Again, one of the biggest VC coins of the cycle, making all-time lows today, down 87% from the all-time high. Like, bear market is written all over this thing. So hopefully you guys can also identify that and see that. So some people who don't understand that will hear me say that and say I'm wrong and stuff, and we're still in a bull market or whatever. But I'd say to that, you're insane. You're actually insane if you think like that. Because again, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting a different result. So, yeah, a lot of people are insane because they don't change. But update on Arbitrum, all-time low prices right now. Your next fib level lower, it's going to be the 0.27, and that's at 21 cents. I wouldn't be shocked to see this bottom on a triple drive. We already got 2 of the 3. Right. 1, 2. We look for that third. And then ultimately we can expect a reversal. Especially lines up with the majors. We also have a massive descending wedge here. So that scenario does make sense. So whether it wants the 0.27 fib, right? There's zero confluence with this fib. It's just an arbitrary line. So we really don't have anything to work off, being that these are all-time low prices. But, you know, whether it wants to hold this descending wedge or come down here, I'd say it's probably getting pretty close. But do you want to buy Arbitrum as your Ethereum beta play? That's the question to ask yourself. It's an option as an Ethereum beta? Yes, it is. Is it a good one? That's up for user interpretation. I don't think it's the best by any means, but probably will give like 100%, 200% gains if and when we do get this kind of reverse Titanic bullish April that I'm somewhat expecting here. Again, that scenario where Bitcoin bounces, everyone gets bullish again, that I showed on Pepe, just to get led to the slaughterhouse again. The whales will continually lead retail to the slaughterhouse as long as retail doesn't catch on to what's happening. And like I said, most people do the same thing over and over again without changing and expecting a different result, which allows the whales to continue to run the same script. But anyways, talking about base coins, like someone had pointed out here, we are in really good levels for support, essentially, or demand, I should say, when it comes to a lot of these base coins. Mr. Miggles, I think, will get listed on Coinbase. I don't know when. I don't know if it will, but I'm tempted to throw ETH in this. I'm tempted to throw ETH in Mr. Miggles. Keyboard Cat came back down to 25 mil. It is bounced back to 30 million now. And this As of April 1st, this got listed on Coinbase. So this does look like a bit of an insider sell-off. The same thing happened on Dog and Me, but this is demand for Keyboard Cat. I showed this all in my YouTube video today. And Dog and Me, same thing. It got listed on Coinbase April 1st. And as you can see here, April 1st, it's been in a 3-day downwards turn currently, coming just very close to a daily demand zone. So all base coins, they are in areas of interest to be a buyer, right? They're in demand. Wholesale prices, not retail prices. So they do look good. I mean, in terms of like, obviously the charts look very skewed and wanky because it's just pump, dump, like sell, crazy volatility, non-directional volatility. But they look good in the sense that they're in demand levels or very close to these demand levels. So if you want to be a buyer of them, you want to look to buy them in demand. Let's see. Perry says, appreciate the answers. What's the easiest way to assess if an altcoin has grabbed its liquidity? Also on which time frame? So you always start with the majors, Perry, right? You always start with the total two. Bitcoin and ETH, they're majors as well. So in this case, right, we always want to line one individual altcoin or any individual altcoin up with the majors. So essentially, right, that we had this outlined well ahead of time, that 925 billion was the order block we were determining as the key level for the total two. Okay. It just so happened that that hit on March 11th, and basically every single altcoin put in its bottom on March 11th. Some have broken that low, like I showed on Tau. Some haven't, like Keyboard Cat. It went like 6x from that bottom. But ultimately, how do you tell if it hit on an individual altcoin? It more so stems from the majors, and then you work your way down to the individual ones from there, because they typically do line up if it's actual key liquidity and not just another support line that someone thinks is key but it's not. The actual key ones will always have confluence with the majors, like the total and the total two. And in terms of which time frame, I've explained this. I will literally go through every time frame. I'll go from 1 hour to 23 hours. I'll go from 1 day to 6 day. I'll do 1 week to 3 weeks. I'll do 1 month. I'll do 2 months. I'll look at every time frame there is. Why? Because the whales hide in these obscure time frames like the 23 hour or the 5 day. You can see their footprints if you take the time to do all of that work. It's work. You need to sit down and have a lot of concentration and go through the charts. It is 100% work, but that's how you do it. That's how I do it. And let's see, what separates the Mastermind from other paid groups? Struggle to find insights on higher entry price compared to EG monthly subgroups. But obviously makes some skeptical. Well, I used to do monthly, but it just doesn't, it makes zero sense to me at least. I like building an actual community where people stick around. When you do a monthly thing, people will pay the bare minimum and essentially use it as much as possible to only cancel after a month. So it made zero sense for me to continue in that way. And what separates me from other paid groups, it's me. I am the differentiating factor. You can look at what other people have to say, but yeah, I'm not necessarily going to explain myself here on stream, because I feel like there's not necessarily a need to, but check out the website. Everything is all there. All your questions will get answered on the website, or just ask people on their experience on it. because there's a lot of people watching the stream right now that are inside. And we already looked at Arbitrum Life Experience. Shout out to Stacy Lewis. Abdul says we're going to go to 62,000 and then go back up after that in quarter 3. 62 would be back into the chop zone, which we spent 7 months in from March until October of 2024. The chop zone down here. Potentially, yeah, but that would be a hard overshoot. And it would be a quick wick if we hit 62, in my opinion. I'm not expecting price to spend a lot of time in this box that I'm drawing now at all. I don't expect price to spend a lot of time here. If price does spend a lot of time here, in my opinion, that's very bearish. The more time spent below $80,000, the worse. Okay, the worse it is. So we really would want to see a quick reversal out of it. We want a quick reversal, and we do not want price to spend a lot of time below 80,000. And 80,000 is all the way up here. All right, this is 80K up here. Every time we've breached it in the past month, it's been quick. It's been a quick rebound. One day. We don't want any weekly candle closures down here. That would essentially spell much, much lower. It's a good way to put it. Much lower. See, Matthew Black says, my goal has been to buy every dip and not panic sell, but this market is really testing my goal, LOL. With that being said, I'm trying to find some base RWA coins worth buying. So your goal is to buy every dip and not panic sell. Going back to how the whales play the game, they essentially go you can call them cycles, you can call them programs, you can call them buy programs and sell programs. We went into a buy program. Just looking at Bitcoin, we went into a buy program. It really initiated. The buy program initiated here. This stuff happens on a multi-month time frame. All right. So the buy program started when Bitcoin went down here and hit $49,000 in August of 2024. That was the low. From there, we went into a multi-month buy program where essentially whales pushed the price up and we saw Bitcoin climb 120% to $108,000. We're going to make this arrow green. That's the start of the buy program. And now this is why I'm saying that 72K liquidity level is so important. Sell program started over here, December 2024. And all this stuff always takes a lot of time. Right after the lows were hit, price spent another like 2-3 months. Really choppy. Not a lot of indication that it was about to pump all the way up to 108K. Over here, price hits 108K. Spends a lot of time chopping around between like 90,000 and 100,000. Comes back up here to 110,000. Again, retail is bullish. They're buying and the whales are selling into retail's buys. The sell program started over here in mid-December. Okay, this test, it was an opportunity again to get retail bullish, lead them astray, lead them in the wrong direction, to sell into them. So now we've been in a sell program. And now this is why the dollar cost average strategy doesn't really work well in crypto. Because if you're dollar cost averaging into a sell program, you're going to get absolutely destroyed. And that's what's been happening for the past 3-4 months since December. Now what I'm saying is if there is going to be a new buy program initiating, I want another similar low. I want another key liquidity grab like what happened over here. Right? You had demand at 50K on Bitcoin. Price actually hit that key liquidity. And then it gave it the fuel to pump up to 108,000. It's kind of the same thing here. Similar. Same, but different. We're just looking for a new buy program to start. And in order for that to happen, again, just like Bitcoin needed the fuel at 50K to make the move to 100K, Bitcoin needs fuel. The fuel's at 72,000. So anyways, that's why a dollar cost average strategy can really not work at all in crypto, because of how the market essentially is programmed or ran by whales, the rich, the elite, if you will. This is how they operate it. This is how they do it. But anyways, thought I would explain that if anyone was wondering why their dollar cost average strategy hasn't been working out for the past 4 months, that is why. Anyways, base RWA coins worth buying. Let's do a real world asset coin checkup. Let's do a little checkup on things. So Ondo very near its lows at 80 cents. Box has already been filled. However, I'm not going to dig into this now, but it does look like it wants lower, closer to 65. Reserve rights. If we're talking about base RWA coins, I want to show you something really quick. I do believe that Coinbase already listed RSR, but they're listing the base token contract here, as you can see. Somebody asked me about XDC network earlier in the stream. XDC, like a really regulatory compliant project similar to Hedera or XRP. Reserve rights RSR is in that same category. It's Peter Thiel's a big investor. Put it like that. Okay, there's something going on with this. So yeah, when it comes to RWA coins on base, RSR is an option. It's an option, but I mean, look, it's a heavily whale manipulated coin. You got to time it correctly, and I would personally look for, again, the buy program to initiate via Bitcoin, and you can potentially see it closer to 0.004 to 0.003. What's going on, Stacy Lewis? Good to see you here in the live chat. And Tars asking Jonathan. TAI. Now, I want to make it clear, I don't hold this coin. But with that being said, you know, it's in this level. It's getting smashed, right? It's been in a really, again, going back to the buy sell program, when did this top out? The same time Bitcoin initiated the sell program. So anyways, if we're looking for, use that buy program, sell program analogy I showed on Bitcoin, apply that to every single altcoin. It's the same game. So yeah, being that we're still in a sell program, will this low hold down here? I'm not confident to say it will. It might. It might, but I'm not confident to say it will. All right, so there is a world where this comes down to like 2.52 cents potentially before, finding a bottom. Up to you if you want a DCA, but again, I just gave a pretty big kind of tangent on why DCAing doesn't necessarily work really well in crypto, because it's not necessarily, if you're DCAing into a sell program, you're going to be down 80% by the time it bottoms out. So it is in this level, but I'm not confident to say it will hold until Bitcoin finds its bottom. Stacy says the goal is not to fall short from the glory of God anymore. That's an awesome goal, Stacy. That's just daily practice, right? You have your own relationship, so it's all on you. Daniil asking about Thorchain Rune. Now this coin had a big exploit in January, and I can't look at this, so let's clear this. Let's remove 44 drawings. I think any sane person would have to remove those drawings and start from a fresh board, a fresh chart. Yeah, this is your level for Rune. 90 cents to 83 cents. Bottom in the bear market. There's also, it's in a fair value gap, and there's an OB there. So you can call that a hidden order block too, because there's a fair value gap. So that's your level, 90 cents to 83 cents. To look for lower. But I just wouldn't pay any attention to Thorchain Rune anyway. Why? You got 17,132 coins. Why would I pay attention to Thorchain Rune? I'm not bullish on this. And it's kind of it's been through several market cycles. It did several hundred X's in 2021. They got exploited for a lot of money over here in January. I just wouldn't necessarily be too focused on something like Thorchain Rune. And do I think Ape is a good coin? No. I think Ape is not a good coin. It is it was a good coin if you were a Bored Ape Yacht Club holder and you got a massive airdrop and you decided to sell that airdrop and then sell your Ape NFT before their value crashed to nothing. But like the reason for this coin was to give a reason for people to hold and buy the Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT. So that reason is kind of well irrelevant at this point in time. And you can see that Ape has made new lows. Actually, is that correct? Yes, that is correct. Okay, so Ape has actually breached its bear market lows. So it's definitely, not a good coin in any way, shape, or form. Now you can see here, ironically enough, it must have not been too long ago, right? Because I marked this out as the previous swing high at $1.04. And I also marked this low. And look what I wrote. I said close below this low equals doom. Well, we've closed below it on the daily. We closed below it on the 3-day. We got to look for shorts on ape. We closed below the doom line. The doom line has been lost. Yeah, I would have picked this candle anyway. The thing is, like, this is a huge bounce, which might happen. But that's 50% from current price, and that was only prices that from 1 month ago at the start of March. So anyways, no, ape is not a good coin. I would only look for shorts. And, if it is going to go for a triple drive bottom, you'll have 1, you'll have 2, and, you'll have 3 somewhere around here. But who even knows if that scenario would happen? I would not do anything other than look for shorts on ape. And around 69 cents is a level, but that's 50% away from current price. Let's see. Fred James picked up Beppe. Seems like the project is still alive. I think so too. Yes, I think it's still alive. The problem is the only reason any base meme coin has pumped over the past 3-4 months was because of a Coinbase listing announcement. So yeah, even the best ones won't do anything unless because the market's it's a very bearish market. You don't have people having FOMO to buy these coins like Beppe or any other base meme. So again, if we enter into a buy program, I could for sure see it doing well. But in the current climate of the market, it's being that it's risk off. I don't expect it to have any crazy pumps. But going into the future, like you said, they are still active. They're still doing things, developing, building the community. So could do well for sure. And Dre says he's still bullish as well. Let's see, Perry. Miles was my first paid group, and I exited after 1 month. In my opinion, it was because I want to test different groups before deciding for one. I enjoy your analysis, just high barrier of entry. That you don't chill it very hard, unlike Miles. Just makes it a bit mysterious and to me interesting. Yeah, I don't really necessarily need to farm members for my group, or I like having it. But maybe I'm just should be more aggressive when it comes to that type of sales. But I don't know. If I want a hard sell, trust me, I could hard sell. Sometimes it might come out, but for the most part, yeah, I do go about it because I'm really I'm not waking up every morning being I gotta get people to join my group. Oh my God, I gotta pay my bills. Oh, that's just not how I am. So the market's been good to me. Let's put it like that. And yeah, Dre, I also don't follow him or respect him either. Yeah. On that note, guys, we're going to end the live stream now. Look, I don't want to talk bad about anyone or anything like that. Everyone's free to live their own life, but yes, yes, there are people that don't necessarily have their moral compass aligned in this world of crypto influencers and KOLs. So I'm sure you guys have noticed that by now, but hey, people do whatever they want. Karma is a very real thing, and it will always come back. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream today. Slow market, boring market. It's still like watching paint dry on the wall or watching a tortoise go through a racetrack at a snail's pace. It's very slow, it's quite boring, and Bitcoin still hasn't hit its 72K key liquidity just yet. I'm still expecting lower before higher, and I wouldn't be all crazy bullish or anything like that until that happens. I'll be live often to keep you guys updated. Also, more regular videos are on the way. So if you're new here to Crypto Empire, smash that subscribe button down below. And of course, turn on all bell notifications so you don't miss any future videos. Hit the like on this live stream, and I'll see all you guys really soon in the next video. Have a great rest of your evening. Connor from Crypto Empire, signing out.